Welcome back to another episode of Manufactured in the Glass City. I'm Brian Blair, Vice President and Director of Athletics, and I'm really excited about today's episode. We're joined by a three-time team captain, obviously a University of Toledo alumni, and now part of the broadcast team for the Los Angeles Lakers, Allie Clifton. Allie, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So you've had an expansive career. Was this all you dreamed up growing up in Van Wert, Ohio?
I would like to say so, now that I am where I am. But I actually didn't. It's far exceeded my dreams, I think, just in terms of, you always hear people say, do what you love what you do, and to be able to truly live that out. Right now, I couldn't be more grateful for that. But, when I stepped foot here on campus, I thought I was going to be in the education system. I was going to school for education, grades 4 to 9, and obviously I played college basketball here. And through my time as an athlete, student athlete, it was just, there's a feeling of I need to stick around sport a little longer. And so obviously through the help of everyone here, academics, my advisors at the time, I was able to kind of rework some things, and now I am in the sports industry and living and getting to do what I love, as you called, now certainly a dream that it may have taken me longer to realize, but I'm excited that I'm doing it.
It's interesting you say you were in education. Was the plan to be a teacher?
Yeah, so my father, my uncle, bunch of family members have been a part of the education system, whether on the administration side or a teacher. And yeah, so I thought I was going to do that. I wanted to do 4 to 9 math and science. I remembered loving chemistry in high school, loving numbers. And so I did it for 3.5 years here. But I truly, I think back now, and I just think my experience as an athlete shaped so much of who I was as I was growing, right? And getting older and just really trying to understand and learn who I was and what I wanted to do long term. And there was just a feeling, just a sense of sports that I needed to be a part of on a different level. And so though I started out wanting or thinking I was going to be a teacher, I'm here now.
I love it. And I love this place because I think not only what we've done is remarkable, but what we can be is even more remarkable. And I'm reminded by that if I'm scrolling through Instagram and I come across your feed and there's you and Richard Jefferson and other NBA superstars shooting hoops on one of the biggest brands in all of sport. It all started in Toledo. But I think we were talking a little earlier, it almost didn't happen, right? You were committed elsewhere and you got on campus. Maybe walk us through that experience.
Yeah, I'm from a very small hometown, Van Wert, Ohio, about an hour and 45 southwest of here. And I certainly still am, but I knew then I was such a homebody and very close with my family. And so taking that leap as an 18-year-old obviously was a strong commitment, and obviously something new for me walking into, as every individual at that age. And so when I was going on the campus tours and the recruitment trail, if you will, my older sister also played college basketball. And so I had kind of seen it from afar. She's 2 years older than me. I watched my parents and her navigate that process. And so when it came my turn, I had taken a couple college visits elsewhere for basketball, and Toledo was my last visit that was scheduled. And it was the fall, right before August, right before my senior year of high school. And it was on a Monday afternoon. I'll never forget it, early August. And I stepped foot on campus, met the coaching staff at that time here. Very, very quiet. Not a lot of kids, obviously. I believe now that I look back, it was probably at the end of summer workouts where athletes got to go home for a couple of weeks before school started. So very, very quiet. And I stepped foot at the center of the Centennial Mall, and I just knew it. There was just a feeling. I know oftentimes you hear people say that a lot. It may seem cliche, but when you know, and there was just a gut feeling. Walked back into Coach's office, Coach Elan's office at the time, and here I am, 17 years old. I said, I'm coming to Toledo, I'm committed. And my parents obviously hadn't done the process before. Let's take a beat, let's take a pause, let's chat as a family. And we made it to the Wendy's in Perrysburg at the time. We pulled over and my dad said, call Coach back, and I think you're ready to do this.
Well, shout out to Wendy's in Perrysburg for being the final stop.
Exactly.
On
And
that journey.
Frosty and French fries.
So tell me a little bit about your experience here as a Rocket and being, I mean, you're a 3-time team captain. As coach like to say, you're a shooter. Walk us through, what was that experience like
generous
on
of
and off? What was that experience like on and off the court?
Yeah. Again, I'm a quiet kid. I know a lot of people are like, how is she in front of the camera? I don't know. But the one thing I do know is Toledo is a big reason why I love the game of basketball. Toledo is a big reason why I am able to lead in the position that I do now in broadcasting as a host. Why I'm able to be in circles of professional athletes, be a teammate to people in my professional career life. Being a host, yeah, you run the show, but I have teammates on the desk. I have analysts, co-anchors, et cetera, producers that I work with on a daily. And I give a lot of that credit to Toledo. And I say that because my experience here taught me so many things that were not just applicable as a player and as a student athlete, but also the coaches here, the administration, that's even carried over to you and your staff. And I truly mean this. There is just a togetherness here. There's a belief in one another here. There's a belief in the culture that you establish. And it's not just about being a student athlete, but about the person that you will be once you leave this campus. And that's why wanting to come back and wanting to be a part as much as I can means a lot to me, because that's what Toledo did for me on and off the floor. You mentioned the 3-time co-captain. My coaches, my teammates, they believed in me. They helped to foster that in me and to kind of mold me into who I am now because of the time they spent with me. The hard work, the dedication. I remember we were pulling down Secor just now, and I looked at the time and it was 7:47, and I was like, wow, I still preach rocket time in my daily life, and that's being there 10 minutes before you're supposed to be there. So it's all the little things. We had fun as student athletes, but at the same time, there's just so many life lessons that was taught to me as an athlete and as a student here that I still dear to my heart.
Love that. And I think we talked a little bit about social media earlier. Scroll through, I see you shooting free throws in high heels on set.
I didn't know that was a big deal.
One, I can't shoot free throws, and I'm pretty sure I can't walk in heels. I mean, how much do you get out on the court still?
It's funny. It's the only time I do it now. I've done a couple. When I was with Cleveland, the Cavaliers as a sideline, they had a 3-on-3 tournament. I remember them doing with the organization that I was a part of, and my lungs were on fire. Every once in a while, at practices, or when I used to travel, of course, with Cleveland, I would get out and shoot hoops here and there. I don't play a lot of pickup. I did that once or twice at the rec right after I finished my career here. That did not end well. But anytime I catch a ball, anytime I'm around the game, it just feels natural and comfortable.
So, a lot of our student athletes say, hey, I want to stay a part of sports after I graduate. Broadcasting is something they see tangible examples of. Maybe walk us through your journey. What was your first job in front of the camera, and what steps did you take to get to where you are now?
My first job in front of the camera was here in Toledo with BCSN. I'll forever be indebted to them. They took a chance on me a lot because after every game that we played here, I would get to go home and we'd get to watch our games on BCSN, right? It was the highlight pack. It was the game, whatever it was. And I thought when I changed my major, getting an opportunity to get my feet wet and learn and understand, because I had a semester where I had changed my major, but it wasn't necessarily enough time to be in the classroom here and getting the hands-on experience with broadcasting and journalism and communications, that at that point I really leaned on BCSN. I leaned on WTOL, Channel 13 throughout the next 2 years when I got my master's to really learn the ropes. And I'll never forget, I was doing, it was a double header in a sense of City League basketball, Thanksgiving time. It was just tipping off. I had 2 games and I was a color analyst. And I remember going back and telling my family, I will not make it in this profession. This is harder than I thought. But BCSN stuck with me. They helped me for 2 years in TOL and Channel 13 and the Mud Hens. So that's where I got all my experience, where it all started. I tell people all the time when they ask me, those that are college kids on campus, whether you're in the degree or getting your degree in that and you have classes to take, there's nothing better in my mind, because this is how my path was, to get out in the field, to get the hands-on experience, get in front of the camera, make the mistakes, right? Put yourself out there. And that all started with BCSN and the area news stations here.
People think you live this glorious life with the Lakers and LA and palm trees and sunshine, but you alluded to it earlier. What you do is harder than probably you make it look, and that's a testament to how good you are at it. Can you give us a little bit of a peek behind the blinds in terms of what does the day-to-day look like for you?
Yeah, so I'll do one in season. Obviously, I'm a studio host for the Los Angeles Lakers, and usually there's a shoot around in the morning that's held by the team, that if they're on the road, we kind of wait for the sound because I don't travel currently right now. If they're at home, we have a chance to get over to the practice facility, chat with a couple players after with a big media scrum, hear from the head coach, and then have a couple hours, get into the studio 3 hours before showtime. We do an hour pregame, halftime, and an hour postgame every game. So it would be an hour before the game, 7 o'clock game, 6 o'clock. So I'm in at 3 o'clock for hair and makeup. At 4 o'clock, I meet with my producers. We go over the show, we go over the rundown. And then by time 6 o'clock hits, red light hits, we're on air. So, and that's pretty, it's crazy. Athletes, they always say, are creatures of habit. And it's pretty routine clockwork like that, even in my field today. Game days kind of look the same. Your routine in that sense. The thrill of it, the adrenaline rush for me, what I love, and something that I learned here at Toledo was finding comfort in the uncomfortable. I'll never forget Dave Hauser, Steve Murray were our strength coaches my freshman year, and they taught us that. And that's what it is for me every time that red light comes on. And that's where the thrill is, because live television, you never know. You never know breaking news that could happen, injuries that could happen, something said that you have to touch on right away, off the cuff, off the fly. And so that's the time where I really just kind of seek and feel some satisfaction, I guess, from what feels hard about the gig and the job. And then throughout that, it's prep all day. We're watching the national broadcast. You're listening to the national narrative surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers and guys like LeBron James and now Luka Doncic. There's always something being said. There's always numbers that are changing. And so it's nonstop. People walk into my house all the time and they're like, it's either ESPN, NBA TV, Turner, Sports Center on for Allie. Good luck going over there, finding something else to watch. And then obviously the social media, constant consuming of information. So it's fun, but it's fun when you work hard, and you're doing the right things and putting your best foot forward. That's when it's really fun.
I feel like you laid in several mic drop moments in there. I mean, the fun that comes from working hard and experiencing that success on the other side of hard, that's really special. And we've talked a lot about our staff on finding comfort in the discomfort. And this world of college athletics is changing more than ever. And you got one side of the coin that wants to complain about it and say, we want the old days back. And you got another side that says, hey, it's not coming back. So let's get comfortable in this uncomfortable and let's make it ours and make it an opportunity. And I think hearing you say that really expresses the DNA of Rockets, and that makes you really proud. Speaking of discomfort, so you talked about being a host, and certainly you've got lots of strong personalities around you, and you're trying to keep that train on the tracks, almost like a point guard in that position. I mean, give us a little bit of behind the scenes on what that's like, to try to, where you're trying to get to, but there's a lot of winding paths to get there.
There is. I think just from what I do on the daily, when I mentioned being a host, there's a large responsibility there, because I think, one, you got to get the show on the road. You got to keep the show on the road. You got to hit the times. You got to hit the commercials. You got to hit the facts. But I think most of all, understanding that it's not about you pays big dividends. I think you want to tune into your listener, right? Your viewer. And to have that in mind, and kind of what's fueled me, this is what's worked for me. I work next to Hall of Famers. I work next to multi-time champions. They know more about the game of basketball than I'll ever believe to know, right? Or I'll ever think that I will know. And so for me to be able to kind of pitch or throw the lobs or ask the hard-hitting questions, which I'm still getting more comfortable with and trying to get accustomed to. I look up to so many women and men in our industry that are great at that, and it's not easy. There's some uncomfortableness there. But to have those conversations, lead those conversations, have the fun, and just know that I work with some of the best. I think that's what eases kind of the uncomfortable in spaces like that, because we're a team. We're a family. And those are the qualities I learned at a very young age, the qualities I learned here. I had coaches and leaders here that also showed me how not everyone can be led the same. Not everyone can be handled the same. It's our famous phrase that we use, KYP, know your personnel. And I use it in my daily of my profession. And it just helps me to navigate those uncomfortable moments. And it's also what brings out some of the best moments. But they're all things that I've learned through sport, and something certainly that I learned here.
You won multiple championships, the Cavs and Lakers. What's your favorite sideline moment?
Ooh. I will have to say I wasn't on the actual TV broadcast because we didn't have rights, but I was a sideline reporter for Cavs radio. It was when they won the championship in 2016. Being with the squad in Golden State at Oracle Arena, Game 7. I remember you had to, only a certain amount of people were allowed on the court right after for the celebration. And you had to be given a wristband. And I was given one. My producer with me, and I had my E&G with me, and we were going to go get some interviews. And I'll never forget, I have the videos still on my phone. I looked at my producer and I was like, well, can we? I didn't say we will. I did, but it's because of my relationship with my producer. I basically said, we're going to do the interviews in the locker room. And he was like, you're right. And I took videos, I took in the moment. My parents always told me kind of what you were saying earlier. You live this wonderful, awesome life, but don't lose sight of like the moment. And that celebration and just being on that court. And it's the peak. It is what every athlete strives for, to be the best at what you are and what you do. And I got to work next to and alongside and see the daily grind of professional athletes at the most elite level. And to see that all come to fruition in that moment and feel a part of it. I keep saying that team was truly special.
You've had a more or less a front row seat to arguably one of the greatest athletes of the world's time, quite frankly, and LeBron James. As you think about that, I'm sure you get asked all the time, well, what's he like? What's it like to work with him? How do you respond to that question?
It's been an absolute dream, large in part because the thing that I think I learned most early on from him and other colleagues that have worked with him as well in the past, there's no one that I've been around in sport that is more dedicated to their craft than that man. And it's one of those feelings that when you're alongside of it, it makes you want to be better. It inspires you. It motivates you to want to be at the top of your game. And that's something that it just kind of taught you a different level of work ethic, dedication, time, just love for the game, but also for what you do every single day. And when you're 10 toes down and you're putting in every ounce of effort to something that you love, then you live with the results and you can be happy and okay with how things shake out, And I think that's the biggest thing he's taught me. And he pushed me. He's been great to me. Such a respectful human individual that has now become a friend of mine. I'm just grateful that we get to continue to watch. He obviously just signed, opted into his contract for another season. And to think that that man's doing this again for his 23rd year, I'm only going into season 13. I'm exhausted just saying that. So it's been nothing but a dream. It's been awesome.
Well, as somebody that hurt themselves getting out of bed this morning, I have a profound respect for what he's doing. And it's fascinating to you to hear you talk about somebody that immensely talented, that has been on a national stage since he was 13, 14 years old, but still it's about work ethic and about grind and doing the most with what he has. And I think there's a lesson in there for all of us, because we can't control the talent we were born with, but we can't control the effort we put into maximizing that talent. And it's great to hear the world's greatest doing the same thing.
That's the thing, is he knows he's been gifted. He knows he's got this innate ability and this body and frame and size and athletic ability, etc. But the work matches, if not more. And I think from that standpoint, and to kind of be able to empower those around him with the same kind of idea, and he'll give you a peek into his model. He'll give you a peek into kind of that blueprint, which has been special. And if you're willing to take it and kind of take it on your own, I mean, there's nothing better.
Podcasting now is really popular. Player-driven podcasts are popular, but you were part of the first. And you're also the first female to lead Lakers color commentary. What mountain is there left for you to climb? What's on your vision board, if I should?
I will say that's all been a blast, a dream. Speaking of being uncomfortable, that's probably the last time I really felt that level of being uncomfortable, but excited to see the growth and feel the growth and take the challenge. And I mean that from a standpoint of like, it just happened a year ago. You just never know when something else, could, or be around the corner of presenting you with that opportunity for growth. And to be a part of that Los Angeles Lakers game, filling in for a Hall of Famer and wonderful human in Stu Lance next to one of the best in Billy Mack, was absolutely a thrill and exciting. And I, from that standpoint of doing it for the Los Angeles Lakers, like, what else do I, But there is a level, there's a layer, and it came from my podcast with Road Trippin'. I get a chance once a week, a couple times a week, but just working with those guys to cover the league as a whole, where I've done it with two teams, the Cavaliers and then with the Lakers. And so if there was an opportunity to take that next step and reach the national scale and national level to cover the league as a whole, as a reporter, a commentator, or a host, I would love to see if I could get there.
I mean, you mentioned the Lakers and the scale there. I mean, what's it like to work for a franchise like that? I mean, arguably top 2 or 3 franchises in the world in terms of brand and power and influence and history of success. I mean, you walk into work every day and you're a member of that organization. I mean, does that dawn on you? Like, do you think about the height for the brand that you've reached?
You actually have to kind of take a step back, because you can get caught up in the hype. You can get caught up in just that lifestyle and life of the lights and the glam and the glory of it all. And that's a testament to the Buss family, first and foremost, I think, too, of what's been built there. But when you take a step back and you understand just the prestige and the family aspect of it, it's so wholesome. That such a powerful brand could have such a intimate feel of togetherness. And I think it's something that since I got there in 2018, I mean, I work with people that have been long life Laker fans, and they've always said it. But unless you're in it, you don't really understand it. And I think just getting a little taste and glimpse as an outsider to be a part of it, you see it on the daily. They strive for that. And I think it's also special. I think it's what keeps, at that level, the highest level, it keeps things moving. And they've figured it out.
I mean, it's fascinating as I hear you talk. We talk about things like family and teamwork, and more or less, I don't think we said the word. We talk about the grit and the willingness to put in the work. And you look at the Lakers at the height of everything and still striving for more. You look at LeBron at the height of everything, still striving for more. And I think for you, I mean, that's always the plight. And I think it started at Toledo, Ohio, in our women's basketball program. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but just what were some of those lessons or examples of things you went through here at Toledo that prepared you for this moment?
Being away from family, taking kind of that leap of faith and having a great support system of family and friends behind me. I went through a bunch of injuries that I know that you were aware of. I've shared with my story here at Toledo. And when you talk about grit and grind and you talk about perseverance, not only did I have to find that within myself here, but I had people that pushed me to find that. And so I think just the experience all in all of every single day. I also had teammates that some of them are still my dearest of friends, where we were in the gym 4 or 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. practices because coaches, our staff wanted us to be able to get degrees and things that people at other places said we couldn't, right? And so to make that sacrifice for us, but also make it reciprocal and understand that we're doing this all together, those are the little things that you take with you. And it's the things that I always tell people that ask me, how do you do it? What's kind of your blueprint? What's the keys to getting there? And it's, don't shortcut the process. Every single day you have an opportunity to be a student athlete, whether it's here at the University of Toledo or wherever you may be. There's a lesson in it all. And I just, for me, getting through those injuries, understanding the support system here, the little things of work ethic, grind, as you mentioned, the determination, seeing the bigger picture and knowing that you're just a small part of it, but we're all rooting for each other to make it to that next phase of life, is something that I don't take for granted.
Yeah. We've talked about our vision for our student athletes, and it's, I want you to leave here with a championship ring. Because I think winning matters. I think winning reinforces all the positive lessons that come from sport. I want you to leave here with a meaningful degree, something you're excited about going to class. We don't want to take anything off the table, and we want you sprinting across that graduation stage because you're so excited about what's on the other side of graduation, and we've prepared you. And as I hear you talk about you and your teammates practicing at somewhat odd hours, that's a piece of the culture here that I've not experienced elsewhere in my career. And that's not a shot at any other place, but we don't tell student athletes, no, you can't major in this because we have practice. And I'm really proud about that, but that's also something we try to reinforce with our new coaches. They're just, when you come in, this is a piece of us that's not changing. Yep. Right? I want you to be you. I want you to build a program. But there's certain things that are not changing about this place. And that's one of them that started long before I was here. Has always been a core of the culture. And I think it's led to alumni that led really fulfilling lives beyond the court, beyond the pool, beyond the whatever playing surface it may be.
I'm a testament to it. I think there's several other athletes. There's several other student individuals that I do know have come from the University of Toledo. I said it when I came back and I spoke a few years ago because it's, if I knew then what I know now, right? Moment as you get older. If you invest in Toledo, Toledo's already invested in you. Toledo will give you the tools. I'm not just saying it because I sit here, I lived it. I lived it, I went through it, and now I'm reaping the benefits on the other side because I had people here that cared about me. I had people here that cared about my teammates, that cared about the individuals that walk the halls at each of the buildings around this campus. And that's powerful. That's why I think when I stepped foot on an empty Centennial Hall, there is just a feeling, a spirit, an aura about this place that was strong. And I lived to see it through. And if you're willing to accept and take the hand that is given to you and give back to it tenfold, you'll be amazed at what's on the other side. But you also have to be willing to do that. And that's the one thing that I've always appreciated about the University of Toledo.
Yeah. I think we just had it first. I've never gotten goosebumps on one of these interviews. You just gave me goosebumps because I believe this place is so special, but to hear you articulate it that way, I mean, it's really powerful.
I think too, being gone, they always say, you don't know what you had until it's gone. And it's not that Toledo's gone, but it's far from me now, right? And that's how I feel about my family. I'm far from the place that makes me feel so comfortable. But it also makes me appreciate and think a lot and reflect a lot about the things that I learned here. And that's why I think it means so much too.
When I took this job, I may have been slightly naive in terms of our women's basketball program and just the sheer magnitude. I mean, a program that has led the conference in attendance for, I think, 3 decades, that's top 30 nationally in attendance regularly. It's got a fan base and a following unlike anything you've ever seen before. I know we were talking earlier, like our fans stay longer after losses because they want the team to make sure they understand we're here for you, win or lose. I mean, what was it like to be a part of that? What was your favorite experience of that?
I think just that. I think it was not only when you run out of the tunnel and you hear the cheers, you know that they're going to be loud, but you know that they're going to be there. And I went through the ups and downs. We didn't have the greatest seasons here to my most memorable seasons here in terms of wins. I loved all my years. They all were unique in their own way, but our fan base was consistent. Our community was consistent. When Coach mentioned, the thoughts of wanting to just know as a student athlete that we care about you as a person first, that hits. It matters, and it carries a lot of weight. And so I think that's also what makes us athletes want to play hard. We may not always hit the shots. We may not always get the stops consistently. We may have our moments and our time. But your energy, your commitment, your dedication, your love for us is what I always believed kept us going. And you don't want to let down your fan base. You don't want to disappoint your fan base. It's what keeps us going as athletes. And that's why I think that it's the best fan base. I sit next to a bunch of professional athletes who had their own careers. Two of my greatest friends, Arizona Wildcats, who are just as obviously at the elite when it comes to colleges. And I will always brag about Toledo women's basketball. And I will stand tall and firm. And I know we've got the numbers to back it up. And that's the thing here that has always been so fun and inviting and exciting. I remember the Igniter dinners. I remember having those outings, whether it be on a Sunday or whether it be on a Wednesday night. Just their energy and their love is infectious. That's the one thing that's so cool to know that it still continues.
Shout out to the Igniters. You're a superpower. We appreciate you. As you think about women's basketball as a whole right now, I'm a big believer that investing in women's basketball now is a good business decision. It's not because it's the right thing to do. It's because people are watching more than ever. And I would argue Toledo women's basketball is already ahead of the curve and primed and ready for an increased investment. What are your thoughts?
I don't think you could have said it any better. I also think that just the love, the passion, the urgency and the commitment to want to be better. I feel even on the professional level with the WNBA, down to the college game, down to the youngsters. I think that there is a overwhelming, in the most positive way, fuel to the game of women's basketball right now. That is unstoppable and it's undeniable. I also am one that believes that both the men's game and the women's game should coexist. I've said that when I came back and I spoke, and I believe in it because without them, we aren't. I don't believe. But I also know that we have something brewing, and we have seen the strides, and there is just a powerful community that is a part of the women's game that you got to be ready for. I think that they have shown that we're coming. We're not there yet, which is the most beautiful thing because it just keeps everyone hungry.
I think the greatest thing about our women's basketball program is not only what we've done historically, but what we can become. And if we pour gas on that fire right now, I think we're all going to stand back and be really happy with where we end up. So we're fired up for that.
It's not a belief in that vision.
I want to wrap with a kind of a two-part question regarding brand. I mean, you built a personal brand for yourself. I mean, I think your social media is the perfect combination between some personal fun, but at the same time, showing you getting business done. But then you're also part of one of the biggest brands in the world, as we alluded to earlier. As you think about modern student athletes trying to build their brand in this NIL world, but also a department that wants to build a larger national brand, I mean, what comments would you have for us?
I think having a voice for yourself is a beautiful thing because I have been a part of kind of both sides where NIL wasn't a thing when I was here. So I understand the grit and the hard work and having to have a voice in a different way for yourself, but then also where everything has kind of grown and we're seeing this evolution of being able to stand in your own frame, in your own box, and having and carrying your own voice through your platform, your brand, I think is powerful. And I think that there is a delicate way to go about it. But I think that if you're about the right things and the vision is to see that bigger picture, dive in head first. Because no one knows yourself better than you. No one knows your power better than you. But also you've got a lot of tools and resources around you to do it the right way. So I think for here at the University of Toledo, don't be afraid to step into that light and take on what can mold you from a place like here. But don't be afraid to dive into it. And I think that's something beautiful with the the young student athletes now is that they have that gift, and kind of how it's just evolutionized into where it is today.
Absolutely. Allie, we're incredibly proud of you and your journey. I'm so grateful you're willing to spend some time back in the state of Ohio with us.
Absolutely.
Look forward to many future conversations, and just thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, as always.
Absolutely. This has been another episode of Manufactured in the Glass City. I'm your host, Brian Blair, Vice President and Director of Athletics. Excited to continue to share more amazing stories with you. Go Rockets.